Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. If you missed it over the weekend, I dropped 2 episodes taking a look at this year's top 25 stand-up specials. Go back and check that out, please. Jordan Klepper will have a special tonight on Comedy Central. Daily Show presents Jordan Klepper Fingers the Pulse. This time he went to Mississippi, Oregon, and Norway in search of an answer to the question, does Donald Trump deserve a Nobel Peace Prize? Now, the answer was no. The Nobel Prize came out last week and did not go to Donald Trump. Klepper told The Hollywood Reporter, as we were putting the special together, 2 conversations were taking place in the country. There were troops being sent to Portland and to Chicago. There were ICE raids and protests. At the same time, Trump was campaigning openly for the Nobel Peace Prize. We saw a special in that conversation. Said we went to Mississippi and talked to Trump supporters about why Donald Trump was the most peaceful president. They talked about the wars he solved. They talked about him bringing strength to cities. Then we went to Oslo to talk to the people who give out the Peace Prize about what qualities a Peace Prize winner would have. He even found a group of Nordic MAGA types. The Hollywood Reporter was curious about doing 4 or 5 minutes on The Daily Show versus something like this. Jordan said, you get to go deeper. What I feel really lucky about is I get to work in 3 separate modes at The Daily Show. I get to host. When you're doing that, you're dealing with a day of stories. You're responding to the news of the moment. Then I get to do field pieces, which are reflective of what's happening. A lot of those, to me, feel like I'm stress testing propaganda. With these specials, you get to have a larger argument and really dive deeper into these conversations. Theo has revealed that he goes to Bible studies with Morgan Wallen. This happened during Theo's conversation with Leanne Morgan. Morgan Wallen's name came up, and Theo Von said, I'm going to see him tomorrow, Bible study, actually. Leanne was curious, what are you studying? He said, I think we're watching a movie, but it is Bible study. Yeah, I'm not sure what chapter we're on at the moment. In Austin, there's a new Italian bakery, Ciccio Bomba. One of the co-owners, Tom Segura. We've learned that Italian chef Gianba Vinzoni is a restaurateur who wowed Tom Segura with his signature croissants at Vinzoni's restaurant in California. Segura started sharing the croissants far and wide and has collaborated with Vinzoni to bring them to Austin. Farm menus include cornetti, which is a horned Italian croissants, focaccia, Italian sandwiches, brunch specialties, and coffee. The bakery's open from 7:30 to 4. And there's a menu we can check out, and if you're a long-time listener, you know I'm clicking on the menu. Now, I have some bad news for Tom Segura. I wanted to click on the menus and make a bit out of this, but you see, when I click on the dine-in menu, it fails and tells me I'm not online, but I am online. I have 59.7 megabytes of download speed right now. I ran speed test. And when I try to order takeout, several menus come up, including the Austin Rotisserie and Taco Pagasso, but I'm not seeing Segura's place, which is a shame because it ruins the bit. So let's just move on. Patton Oswalt says right now, the greatest living comedian is definitely Maria Bamford. Now, Patton Oswalt also thinks Doug the Vulcan is a good idea, so we might have to say, Patton Oswalt's not right about everything. People who like Maria Bamford love Maria Bamford. Patton Oswalt said she's in her own category. She's a comedian, but there's certain people with a profession where you don't put them anywhere. He told the Good One podcast, you go, now there's a separate chapter about this person. She's her own chapter, both in form, content delivery, and how she pursues her career. It's all original, it's all brand new and unprecedented, and it's amazing. No one comes close. Jesse David Fox, who hosts the Good One podcast, said, I was hoping you'd say her. It's just Richard Pryor than her, to me, is the conversation in terms of what can be done with stand-up as a form. That's all crazy talk. Just absolutely insane. Richard Pryor and Maria Bamford? Stop. You sound crazy. Sebastian Maniscalco went on Drew Barrymore's show and had some food advice. He said, if you go to someone's house, bring something, a small gift. It's kind of the right thing to do. Drew said, I get really stressed when people ask me, what can I bring? I don't know. Sebastian suggested a small candle, something small, something nice, just a gift for the house. Thanks, Sebastian. Variety asked Jim Gaffigan if he's a silly person off stage. Having spent time with Jim Gaffigan 20 years ago, the answer was no. Maybe these days he's super silly. He wasn't then. Jim said, I'd say I'm a silly person with my comedian friends. What I love about stand-up is that element of play. Giving someone the guff, that sarcastic banter. I wouldn't describe it as roasting. It's just play. Some comedians are always in play and doing bits like Todd Glass. That's why comics gravitate towards each other. It's a play environment. But when I'm with my kids, no, I'm very focused. I'm also someone who has to work hard. I don't know what kind of learning disabilities I have, but even studying lines for an acting role takes me longer than it would take my wife. 20 years ago, I would often discuss bits with my wife. Now I might be discussing them with my opening comedian, Ted Alexandro. The writing and rewriting is very valuable. And that's something I do when I tour. I don't have that luxury at home because kids are too much work. If you're thinking of having children, don't. The luxury of doing shows out of town is that I can spend those days listening to a set and dissecting how I could expand it. For me, it's not that I have to walk away from a writing session with a joke. I just feel good if I made the effort. They asked Jim if the story was true where he woke up at his office to be fired from his day job. He was a comedian in New York in the 90s. He was an ad salesman during the day. Jim said, absolutely. And the cruelty is that a friend of mine, Dave Attell, already had a joke about being woken up to be fired. Whenever this comes up, out of respect, I have to mention the fact that Dave Attell had this joke. But yes, I worked in advertising, and I'm really grateful for that experience. As a copywriter, the editing process, figuring out the shortest way to say something is incredibly valuable, and that carries over into stand-up. I was definitely delusional. After 6 months of doing stand-up, I remember thinking, I can't believe I haven't been on Letterman. And then I didn't get on for 7 years, so I did a lot of work on myself, therapy and stuff like that. But there was no expectation of I'm going to stop doing this. All comedians are delusional. You have to be. If insanity is repeating something and expecting a different result, even the quickest careers involve 5 years of failure, that's insanity, right? The LA Times put out their list of the 33 best comedy specials of 2025. I'll go quickly here because I spent the weekend doing lists, but I was curious, and the LA Times has a very, very good comedy section. I don't think these are ranked, and I can't tell what kind of order they are. They're not chronological, I don't think. But here's what they have. Frankie Quinones, Damn, That's Crazy from Hulu. Andrew Schultz's Life from Netflix. Sebastian Maniscalco's It Ain't Right from Hulu. Bill Burr's Drop Dead Years from Hulu. Nah. Jordan Jensen's Take Me With You on Netflix. Atsuko Akatsuka's Father on Hulu. Gabe Iglesias' Legend of Fluffy on Netflix. Mark Maron's Panicked on HBO. Nate Jackson's Super Funny on Netflix. You know what? I'm leaving the Netflix. You heard me clean it up, but I'm leaving it in because it's funny. On Netflix, Nate Jackson's Super Funny. They write, there's a reason Nate Jackson's debut Netflix special arrives during barbecue season. Perched on a stool under the spotlight at his shows, the comedian spends most of his evening delivering hospital-worthy third-degree burns to crowd members who want the smoke. All right, that's probably worth checking out. Leanne Morgan, Unspeakable Things, Netflix. Eliza Schlesinger's A Different Animal, Prime Video. Ralph Barbossa's Planet Bosa on Hulu. Gaffigan's Bourbon Set on YouTube. Steph Tolev's Filth Queen, Netflix. Cristela Alonso's Upper Classy. I feel like that was on Netflix. They didn't list a platform here. Ali Sadiq's Rugged on YouTube. A lot of people commented on him throughout the year. Jim Norton's Unconceivable on YouTube. I should probably put eyes on that. I like Jim a lot. Jay Jordan's Yes Ma'am on Hulu. Rosebud Baker's The Motherlode, Netflix. Ken Flores, LOL Live with Ken Flores, that's Hulu. Bert Kreischer, Lucky, Netflix. Comedian CP on Veeps, Sunday after 6. Trey Crowder's Liberal Redneck on YouTube, haven't seen that one. Phoebe Robinson's I Don't Want to Work Anymore on YouTube. Tim Dillon's I'm Your Mother on Netflix. Kathleen Madigan's The Family Thread on Amazon Prime. Mike Vecchione's Low Income White on YouTube. Ian Edwards' Untitled on YouTube. Interesting, that keeps popping up on lists. Ryan Sickler's Live and Alive on YouTube. They say Ryan Sickler turned thick blood into sweet wine. His trademark candor and giggle drives the hours he plays tour guide through a traumatic hospital stay that nearly became his last. Chinedu Unaka's LO Alive on Hulu. I had that on my list. Cameron Esposito's 4 Pills on Dropout. Samantha Hale's Horror Nerd on Apple TV. That's a thing? Or is that not out yet? Or what? That's on Apple TV? Only Samantha Hale could make hair-raising terror this funny. Her long-running show, Horror Nerd, jumps from the Hollywood improv stage to the screen as she nostalgically riffs on serial killers, the healing power of stabby movies, and turns genre obsessions, cult classic fandom, and online feedback into an unbroken chain of laugh-out-loud brilliance. Okay, totally missed that one. And Jayang Summers, What Species Are You, is on Hulu. There's the LA Times 33 picks. They have a very, very strong comedy section. Kathleen Madigan told the LA Times, I love beer, and all my uncles worked at the brewery forever and ever. They were pipe fitters full-time at Anheuser-Busch downtown. The Midwest is kind of like that. That's our thing. St. Louis is a beer town, period. Anheuser-Busch Brewery is still there. People still have jobs there. They sponsor everything. Milwaukee is kind of like a beer town, too. It's all about the Miller Lite now, but back in the day, they had 1,000 breweries before Prohibition. It's very beer-centric. With the Pabst Theater, I taped a special already there, and they're just the nicest people. The crew and everybody who works there, they're excited you're there, and I don't need to be flattered. I really don't. I don't even need you to be there. But if you're going to be there, if you cannot be cranky, that'd be great. Comedians will also tell you this. There's certain spots where you walk off stage and go, people should film specials here. This theater is one of the 3 that I feel that way about. Why are these certain places so special? I don't know. There's a little magic in there, I guess. Madigan talked about being on TikTok and said it's a lot different from dancing in your bedroom to Madonna in 1984. I'm not particularly good at TikTok as a human or as a comedian, but I love being on TikTok as a voyeur. I post jokes and do work stuff. But I was really good at Twitter because I'm good with words. Instagram, I'm almost there. But TikTok, I'm watching 7,000 cat videos. If you have any kind of addictive personality, you'll love it because it's endless, it never stops, and there's hardly ever repetition. It seems to be people way younger than me, but I like it. I wouldn't want to think I made a career out of it, though. I think some of the young ones are biting off more than I could ever chew with this experience. Does it last? I'm curious to see if all these acts will work. Will your fans keep coming 5 years from now? That's why I'm glad I started when I started. When young comics ask, what should I do? I'm like, dude, I don't have any idea. Just make sure you get on stage a lot. She is so funny. I love her. The Traverse City Comedy Festival will return in April 16th to the 18th. 7 venues across Traverse City. Roy Wood Jr. and Gary Gulman will be the headliners for this one. Lewis Black spoke to Esquire about, he keeps talking about retiring. I thought he retired at the end of last year. Now he's doing fewer shows. I don't know what's going on. As for one of his final shows, he said it was a concentration of all the performances I ever gave, including a heckler at the end. It was kind of like everything that could happen along the way happened that night. Not in a bad way. It was good. The thing you can't explain to people, including Johnny Mac, is there's touring and then there's doing some shows. I might do 10 shows a year as opposed to 100 to 150 to 200. I'm not sad about not doing 100 shows. I had a tour bus I was leasing, so I'd fly in a place on a Thursday or Wednesday, then drive somewhere Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then fly home. So I was in 4 days and back 3, and it wasn't bad. He said if not for the pandemic, I would have retired probably by this time I was 74, 75. I would have done it anyway because there were other things I wanted to do. I basically wanted to retire to be able to write again. That is your comedy news for today. I'll see you tomorrow.